Filming these new release videos is really making me realize how quickly the year is going in. I can't believe we're in November already. In October, I had so many new releases I was so excited to get to. And realistically, I was never going to get to all of them with the things I already owned and wanted to read. So I'm quite grateful that November is a little quieter. There's still 8 books that I am really interested in getting hold of, but there's not as many I desperately need to read in the month they come out. So this is hopefully going to be a little bit of a slowdown on the new release hype, and I can focus on maybe hitting a few backlists. That said, these ones do look really good, so if I get hold of them, all of that might go right out the window. On November 4th, we have The Madwife by Megan Church. This is pitched as a haunting exploration of identity, motherhood, and societal expectations. It's probably not the type of book I would usually go for. The cover and the blurb make it sound a little more literary than is usually my kind of style, and a little out of my wheelhouse, but I think the premise sounds interesting enough that I still definitely want to try and read it once I get my hands on it. They called it hysteria, she called it survival. Lulu Mayfield has spent the last 5 years moulding herself into the perfect 1950s housewife. Despite the tragic memories that haunt her and the weight of exhausting expectations, she keeps her husband happy, her household running, and her gelatin salads the talk of the neighbourhood. But after she gives birth to her second child, Lulu's carefully crafted life begins to unravel. When a new neighbour, Bitsy, moves in, Lulu suspects that something darker lurks behind the woman's constant smiles. As her fixation on Bitsy deepens, Lulu is drawn into a web of unsettling truths that threaten to expose the cracks in her own life. The more she uncovers about Bitsy, the more she questions everything she thought she knew, and soon others begin questioning her sanity. But is Lulu truly losing her mind, or is she on the verge of discovering a reality too terrifying to accept? In the vein of The Bell Jar and The Hours, The Mad Wife weaves domestic drama with psychological suspense, so poignant and immersive you won't want to put it down. And I am absolutely here for my namesake character and whatever destruction she brings about. Then on that same day, we have Deadly Ever After by Brittany Johnson. This is a sapphic fantasy debut that focuses on two dead princesses and how they have to find true love's kiss in order to bring them back to life. The comp titles are Cinderella is Dead and Girl Serpent Thorn. I've read both and really enjoyed them. They're very different books, so I'll be kind of interested to see what way this one goes. But especially Girl Serpent Thorn was an absolute 5-star read for me. So I'm really looking forward to hopefully getting some of those vibes again. Amala has spent her whole life trying to be the perfect, delicate, quiet, obedient. But when she's murdered on the night of her wedding, her story is cut short before it begins. Adazia has been told her whole life that she is too rough, too loud, too much. She's no ordinary princess, but a ruthless warrior on a quest to fulfill her late brother's dying wish. Except she dies before reaching her destination. When both girls wake up in a cursed forest, the gods offer them a second chance at life, if they can find true love's kiss. But there's a catch, the gods warn. When the right kiss will save you, the wrong kiss will kill you. On their journey, the princesses must overcome challenges that force them to face the truth of their lives and their deaths. And as Amalia and Cadazia grow closer, they can't help but wonder if true love has been standing right in front of them all along. Then on the 11th, we have The Seventh Champion by Sylvia Mercedes. I read The Bride of the Shadow King last year, which was Sylvia Mercedes' I think debut novel. It was the first in a trilogy that was being picked up and kind of traditionally republished. Shadow King was, I think it was like a 500-page book, and I flew through that. If you had asked me, I would have told you that was a 300-page. Like, I flew through it. I could not tell you what happened to make the book that big. Like, if I broke down in my head what I think happened in that story, there's not enough things happening to fill 500 pages, and yet I was completely hooked. I didn't feel a need to continue with the series though. Once I put it down, my interest waned, but I did always intend to go back to the trilogy, and I still might one day. I do know that Mercedes can write a really gripping, really fast paced, really compelling romantasy story. Swept from her quiet life as an apothecary's apprentice to the treacherous court of the High King, Rosie Harpwood is shocked to discover she is the long-lost daughter of the demonic Dragon Queen. Reawakening her dormant magic is the kingdom's only hope for salvation, but the journey is perilous and she'll need a champion to guide her. So the High King hosts a series of trials to determine which prince is worthy of the honour, as well as claiming Rosie's hand in marriage. Rosie, however, has other ideas. A talented healer and lover of small, fluffy creatures, Rosie wants nothing to do with the demon queens or saving the world. Determined to escape this fate, she joins forces with one of the champions to plot her getaway. Prince Valtar may be enigmatic and a little bit terrifying, but something about him makes her blood burn in ways that have nothing to do with her dragon heritage. Trained from youth to serve the Dragon Queen, Valtar has proved himself a ruthless assassin. Posing as a suitor to get close enough to his target shouldn't be a problem, but Valtar wasn't planning on his target being Rosie, the girl he failed to assassinate years ago, who has haunted his dreams ever since. And I will be honest, this cover is doing an awful lot of the lifting. It is absolutely stunning, and I am just, this is, yes, I want this. This is an interesting one. This is Turns of Fate by Anne Bishop. Anne Bishop is a name I have heard of a lot. From what I understand, Anne Bishop's first novel, very much the one that I've heard of, Daughter of Blood, is really, really dark. So I'm interested to see whether that's been embraced or whether we're lightening it up a bit. A young detective investigating crimes of the uncanny will learn that bargains can change your fate, for good or ill, in this darkly enthralling fantasy from the New York Times bestselling author of The Others and the Black Jewel series. Words have power. Intentions matter. Most people come to Destiny Park for entertainment. They come to have their cards read, to tell them a bit more about their future. They come to walk through a beautiful park and to eat at the hotel's restaurant. They come in the hopes of catching a glimpse of the arcana, the paranormal beings who rule the Isle of Weird. But some people come to make a bargain with the arcana, to change their fate, and some people come for dark purposes. When Detective Beth Fay is sent into Destiny Park to inquire about a ghost gun, she will begin a strange journey on which she must learn to navigate the arcana's unforgiving laws and dangerous attractions. Her search will draw her into seemingly impossible cases and the secrets of her own past as tensions rise between the arcana and their human neighbours across the river. For the Isle of Weird is a place where the dead ride trains to their final destinations. Predators literally become prey, and seekers' true natures are revealed in the rippling of destiny unknowingly stirred in their wakes. Who will live, who will die, and who will be lost in between? So yeah, this is a urban fantasy. There's a bit of a detective mystery going on, and it's in this really magical, unique location. Then we have My Roommate from Hell by Cal Dietrich. Cal Dietrich is one of those authors that has been on my radar for a while, but I've never actually picked up any of his books, so this could be the one that really gets me into that backlist. A swoon-worthy YA rom-com about an ambitious college student whose plans get derailed when he discovers his roommate is the Prince of Hell. Owen is not going to college to have fun. Nothing is going to stop him from achieving his study hard, get a good job, and set himself up for the rest of his life. The last thing he needs is to have a loud, obnoxious, and infuriatingly hot roommate, especially since said roommate also just so happens to be the Prince of Hell. Prince Sarmenus has come to Point University for the first ever Earth-Hell exchange program, and he's determined to make the most of it, which may or may not include wild parties, bringing in random boys to his and Owen's room, and accidentally setting Owen's furniture on fire. Sparks fly, literally, as Owen and Zar clash. But Zar's actions threaten to not only ruin Owen's peaceful college life, but demon-human relations as well. To clean up his image, he asks Owen to be his fake boyfriend and teach him how to be a better human in exchange for an internship that will secure Owen's future. That, and Zar will consider becoming a better roommate. A deal is struck, and the two start pretending to be in a relationship where they each have agendas of their own. Only Owen has a secret. Dating his mortal enemy, even if it's fake, is the most fun he's ever had. This one sounds like a lot of fun, and I'm almost getting kind of Nightmare Before Christmas vibes from it, so I think it could be a really good read. Then we have Brigands and Breadknives by Travis Baldree. This is technically book 2 in the Legends and Latte series, but it is the third book because book 2 was a prequel. So technically this is number 2 in the series running order, but it's the third published book. Following? Brigands and Breadknives is going to pick up after Legends and Lattes, but pull through some of the characters from Bookshops and Bone Dust. I adored Legends and Lattes. I've read it a couple of times now, and every single time it sends me down to my local coffee shop to buy cinnamon swirls. It is, in my opinion, it deserves the hype it got. It deserves being kind of the first book to really break out as cozy fantasy. Bookshops and Bone Dust I did not enjoy. I don't know whether there was too much action in it or whether because it was a prequel, I just couldn't really embrace the stakes because I knew where we were going. I don't know why it didn't work for me, but it just didn't. So I am a little bit apprehensive about this new one. However, because it is a direct sequel instead of another prequel, I am hoping for the best. But this one will probably decide whether, if Travis Baldree releases more books in the series, if I am going to personally continue to pick them up. Return to the cozy fantasy world of the #1 New York Times best-selling Legends and Lattes series with a new adventure featuring fan favourite Falmouth bookseller Fern. Fern has weathered the stillness and storms of a bookseller's life for decades, but now, in the face of crippling ennui, transplants herself to the city of Thun to hang out her shingle beside a long-absent friend's coffee shop. What could be a better pairing? Surely a charming renovation montage will cure all that ails her. If only things were so simple. It turns out that fixing your life isn't a one-time prospect, nor as easy as a change of scenery and a lick of paint. A drunken and desperate knight sees the Ratican walking far from home in the company of a legendary warrior surviving on inertia, an imprisoned chaos goblin with a fondness for silverware, and an absolutely thumping hangover. As together they fend off a rogues gallery of ne'er-do-wells trying to claim the bounty the goblin represents, Fern may finally reconnect with the person she actually is when there isn't a job to get in the way. Then on November 18th, we have another new to me author, and this is I, Medusa by Iana Gray. I am a massive Greek mythology buff, and quite honestly, much like fake dating, if you tell me it's a Greek mythology retelling, I am at the very, very least going to tentatively put it onto that kind of watch shelf TBR. Medusa is also one of my absolute favourite characters in Greek mythology. So I have read lots of Medusa retellings, reimaginings, and recreations because if you tell me it's about Medusa, I'm probably going to pick it up. However, I honestly can't tell you one that I have given a 4 or 5 stars to. I just find that everything I read doesn't quite hit the way I want it to. This one sounds like the actual story and plot itself is going to keep to that kind of historical, mythological setting. So I have high hopes then that all it needs to get right is the characterization. One thing I will say is that I am not a huge fan of the character name the author has used for Medusa, but you'll spot that in a second. Medi has spent her whole life as a footnote in someone else's story, out of place next to her beautiful immortal sisters and her parents, both gods, albeit minor ones. She dreams of leaving her family's island for a life of adventure. So when she catches the eye of the goddess Athena, who invites her to train as an esteemed priestess in her temple, Medi leaps at the chance to see the world beyond her home. In Athens' colourful market streets and the clandestine chambers of the temple, Medi flourishes in her role as Athena's favoured acolyte, getting her first tastes of purpose and power. But when she's noticed by another Olympian, Poseidon, a drunken night between girl and god ends in violence, and of course Medi's promising future is suddenly and irrevocably altered. Her locks transform into snakes as punishment for a crime she did not commit. Medusa must embrace a new identity, not as a victim but as a vigilante, and with it the chance to write her own story as mortal, martyr, and myth. Exploding with rage, heartbreak, and love, I, Medusa portrays a young woman caught in the cross-currents between her heart's deepest desires and the cruel, careless games the Olympian gods play. Then on November 25th, we have As Many Souls as Stars by Natasha Siegel. This is another author that's kind of been on my radar for a while. Her debut book was Solomon's Crown. It was a reimagining of actual historical people, but given a queer romance element. I had an arc of it through NetGalley and I think I DNF'd it about a quarter or about half the way in. I didn't enjoy what it was doing and I thought it was really, really slow. But I did love the concept of that book, and I was really intrigued by the concept of her second book, which I haven't read. Similarly, this one sounds like it should be really interesting, so I might end up picking it up, giving it a go, and that kind of being a second attempt at this author. For fans of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, an inventive and romantic speculative novel about two women, a witch and an immortal demon, who make a Faustian pact and are drawn into the cat and mouse chase across multiple lifetimes. 1592. Sybil Harding is a first daughter, cursed to bring disaster to those around her. She is trapped in a house with a mother paralysed by grief and a father willing to sacrifice everything in pursuit of magic. Miriam Richer is a creature of shadow. Forged by the dark arts many years ago, she is doomed to exist for eternity and destined to be alone, killing mortals and consuming their souls for sustenance. Everything changes when she meets Sybil, whose soul shines with a light so bright she must claim it for herself. She offers a bargain. She will grant Sybil reincarnation in exchange for her soul. Thus begins a dance across centuries as Miriam seeks Sybil in every lifetime to claim her prize. Sybil isn't inclined to play by the rules, but when it becomes clear that Miriam holds the key to breaking her family curse, Sybil finds that, for the first time in her many lives, she might have the upper hand. As they circle each other, drawn together inescapably as light and dark, the bond forged between them grows stronger. In their battle for dominance, only one of them can win, but perhaps they can't survive without each other. And then the last book on this list, I actually forgot to mention in the relevant release date section. So this one is coming out on November 11th, and it's one that I've actually already read as an ARC, so I can tell you that it was fantastic. This is Snake Eater by T. Kingfisher. If you want to hear my kind of full review of this, you can check out my summer Ween vlog, which I will link down below. But I thought this was a real return to form for Fisher's horror style writing. I do think this one has been slightly mismarketed, not in the description I'm going to read you, but just in the kind of general vibe I've seen online, where people are talking about this as a horror and then being really disappointed that it's not horrific enough, it's not scary enough, it's not strange enough. It has a isolated little desert town, which I had a great time in, and it's more about things that are just a little off. They're a little left of normal. There's movement at the corner of your eye, and things are just a little eerie. It's not actively scary in the way that some of T. Kingfisher's horror novels have been. This one is more just about the strange and unusual. In an isolated desert town, when Selena travels to the remote desert town of Quartz Creek in search of her estranged Aunt Amelia, she is desperate and short of options. Fleeing an unhappy marriage, she has exactly $27 to her name, and her only friend in the world is her dog, Copper. On arrival, Selena learns Amelia is dead, but the inhabitants of Quartz Creek are only too happy to have a new resident. Out of money and ideas, Selena sees no harm in staying in her aunt's lovely house for a few weeks, tending to her garden and enjoying the strange, desolate beauty of the desert. The people are odd, but friendly, and eager to help Selena settle into her new home. But Quartz Creek's inhabitants share their town with others. Old gods and spirits whose claim to the land long predates their human neighbours. Selena finds herself pursued by disturbing apparitions, visitations that come in the night, and seem to want something from her. Aunt Amelia owed a debt. Now her god has come to collect. So those are the books that I am the most excited about that are coming out in November. There are a couple where I've read the author before, and I've either really loved their writing or I've maybe loved their premises but been unsure about the execution. And then there are some completely new authors to me as well. So it's a really nice mixed bag. In terms of genre, it's quite a nice mix as well. There are some kind of darker fantasies here, but there are also a lot of kind of lighter stories. There's a mix of contemporary and historical, and I think these are going to be a really nice injection into my TBR. Let me know in the comments below which of these books you would be the most likely to pick up, and also what your most anticipated book of November is. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video, and I hope you have a great reading month. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.